The only thing, maybe if you remember, because I actually barely remember, is one issue Stephen Musgrave raised again that we've discussed in the end of August. One second, I can post the link. This that provide Drupal root path on file system admin form. That is something we've started to discuss at the end of the meeting, but we haven't finished. Unfortunately, there is no recording posted yet, nor the transcript to catch up the state we left off. So
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
and do you also remember which conclusions we had roughly?
I'm afraid I don't.
Okay. And same situation like mine.
Yeah.
And the only thing I vaguely remember is one thing I've suggested, I guess, was to highlight with a bolding the typography of basically the var ww HTML path. So the root path, to highlight that, to distinguish from the doc root some way, but that is the only thing, but the rest, not sure.
Yeah.
I think, wait a second. I think, haven't you mentioned anything in regards of private file system paths and temporary? There was something. Anyway.
For me, it
Then,
was like
pardon?
I was thinking. Yeah, I think I was thinking about the uh, in a Docker context,
Ah,
like because application directory, application root directory, kind of for me, I get confused because with Docker instances I work with, we have this kind of the slash app,
yeah.
and underneath there is the web folder, which is then it's not it's because the kind of the part that in the screenshot is var slash www slash html. That part in our Docker instances is called app. So that's kind of a Docker app, and underneath is the
The
doc.
doc root.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other detail I consider confusing is if you take a look at, if you're looking at the after screenshot right now, you have for the application root directory, the description, relative path is shown below are relative to this location. For one, it's directional language. And second, in the private file system example, you have basically var w have the application path and the doc root. No, the application path and then private, and then you have temporary directory where that it's there. It looks relative and
Yeah, I think temporary it's distinguished by like starting with slash, so it kind of looks like basic. Uh
is it the Unix folder?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So that's a Linux server, and like it looks like that. So it's kind of
Okay, that was puzzling me a bit.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense then. aside that, I guess the relevant points are comment number 23 and 25. 25 basically sums it up, where Joachim says, maybe we should do that. What's the actual purpose of this form? None of these paths can be edited in the form, can they? Though, is the purpose here show what is literally defined in the settings PHP, or B, show the location of the files folder? If it's B, then resolving it makes sense, and resolving it refers to comment number 23, where Longwave says if we are to do that, we should just resolve the full absolute path of each value rather than trying to figure it out ourselves. We don't want to prefix with Drupal root if the path is already absolute, for example.
Yeah.
So if I understand that correctly, comment number 25 suggests basically to always use absolute path.
Yeah. I think absolute path would make sense in a way that I think that's what would be useful for me, because if I want to know what's in the settings.php, then I look at the code repository, and then if I want to know on a specific instance where the files actually are, then I need to do some more work. So resolving that like into the like the where it's actually on the server, it would, I think, be useful for my use cases personally. So especially if have a local instance and then I have the staging environment, so I can see the difference there.
Yeah. So you basically see what is the given absolute path that is used and where the files are located
Yeah.
in the case of the current instance. Yeah. And then basically, I guess simply the description has to be updated, because relatives paths shown below are relative to this location isn't true. It's basically the absolute path.
Yeah.
And the only adjustment I would also make is for the var www.html web to communicate that, not because I would assume, as a less technical user, I would assume if I see web there, that web would be the root, but it's basically the doc root, and that distinction might be helpful
Yeah.
to make. But aside that, that would look solid. And there is just one other comment in 41, just to see what your opinion there is. By M. Strellan, rebase the merge request edit screenshots and user interface change to the issue summary. I'm not sure the change record is really necessary. The one minor concern I have is that it's now unclear if you were to move your Drupal installation to another location, would the file system paths remain in their original locations? That would depend on what's in your settings PHP file, and can you no longer determine the answer from the config page?
Yeah, that's true. Uh,
But just out of curiosity, wouldn't it be, because at the moment, if you set something in the settings PHP or in air quotes override it, isn't that labeled on that config page as well as overwritten? And that way it would be clear if you're currently looking at the absolute path of the current instance or if it's basically an override via a settings PHP value.
yeah, but I think the issue is like if you compare before and after that private file system path. So in the first image, you know that it's defined as relative path, but then in the after you don't know if it was written as absolute path or relative path in the settings.php. So there, like,
Ah.
so if it would be with some kind of highlighting the first part for www html web slash dot 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 slash private, it would be a bit confusing, but it would show. Then you would know. But it could also, I think there was some discussion if it should show. So it could also have maybe in parentheses uh, the like if it's a relative path, it could show that how it's written in the settings.php. So again, the question about if it should show both the absolute and the possibly relative one.
Hmm.
But then it's more information again.
Yeah, and potentially more confusing.
Yeah. So, but as I said at first, I think for me it's more useful to see the resolved path
Yeah.
because I can also, because usually when I work on a site, then I can also check the settings.php from repository or from the file system.
Yeah. That seems to me also more clear and straightforward for people, but the case in 41 is definitely tricky.
Yeah. But then again, if you don't have access to that settings.php, then it's kind of a you don't. Uh, I'm wondering what is the use for knowing if it's relative or not if you can't change it. Oh yeah, it was if you move the site to another place, then it does affect, yes.
Uh,
But if you move the site to another location, then I suppose you would have access to the file.
yeah, that for sure. But I think it would be simply helpful for the case. Let's imagine you just moved your site and something went wrong.
Mm.
And if you basically debug the root cause, then that might be a place you look at,
Mm.
looking at the application root directory, what's currently in, and you either see the absolute path or then you notice, oh, hey, somebody has basically set something in the settings PHP for whatever reason. And to notice that,
Yeah.
out of curiosity, is it possible to quickly simulate that? Or would basically a site break if I set something in the settings PHP file that is different? Or would it possible to simply set the same, what the current absolute path is, but as an override in the settings PHP? That way the site would still work, but we would see how it would look like with a settings PHP override.
I think if the path is writable, if the like the folder is writable, then it can work. I'm not sure if it tries to create the folders or if this one if it needs to have them already
Okay.
created. So it should show an error, I think, if it can't access the folder.
Oh, I was in the wrong directory. I could quickly test.
Yeah.
Do you know from the top of your head what the key would be for in the settings PHP file?
It's probably pre-written in the default or example. Let's see if I can find one.
Is it the public file base URL? No, that's not the right one.
It looks like the types I have here. A lot of them are using environmental variables. That's for private files.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
That means the application root directory isn't settable in the settings PHP file.
I think not.
Oh, the file system path remain there. Okay.
I think that it's kind of a it's probably depending on getting those settings. It's kind of it's a precondition that the system knows what is the application root. So, and that's actually something that needs to be set up at the server level, like a web server to know where to look for.
Okay, 1 second. Oops, no, that's the wrong one. Settings. File path. I quickly share my screen. So that is the thing Amstrellen is referring to. And let's say I'll create a in my web, no, not in my web folder, but in here I create a test balloon. So basically it would be test balloon, correct?
No, it would be, I think, /test balloon.
Oh,
because it's one.
yeah, one level down from the doc root.
Okay, so that would resolve to the correct folder. But then if you were to move the doc root to, let's say, like maybe something like doc root /web, then it would try to be like it would try to be relative to that. On a Docker instance, if you would put like a /up app /test balloon, it would work no matter if you change the level of the doc root.
1 second. I simply just for test purposes. That's odd. If you read here, a local file system path where private files will be stored. This directory must be absolute outside of the Drupal installation directory and not accessible over the web. And here we are using relative.
Yeah, and it's also, I think it came up in some other issue that it's possible to put private file system inside the public file system folder with special settings. So that's something that some service providers actually use as a kind of default configuration, just not making it not accessible from web.
But take a look. I've entered the absolute path.
Yeah.
And it is displayed correctly.
Yes.
That is, if we go back here, the same.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's why you don't know the difference. So I think that's what the main point of the comment number 41, that you don't know the difference if it's defined as relative or if it's absolute.
Yeah. But I would argue that is out of the scope for this issue, to be honest.
Yeah.
But in general, having just the absolute path seems totally fine to me and
Yeah.
clear that way. The only thing I would suggest is, yeah, to strike the relative paths shown below are relative to this location. That is not true if you only
So,
have absolute path displayed.
yeah. So take that out. Yeah.
And maybe make an addition to the point about top-level directory of the Drupal installation, that basically web is the doc root.
Yeah.
But since we both are no native speakers, I wouldn't make any recommendation about the microcopy at this point.
Yeah. It's okay.
But yeah, aside that, yeah, I think the case you have is the most convincing about those Docker scenarios where you definitely need the absolute path. So I'm not sure if there is a need of anything else, or do you know anything? Or would you consider anything relevant here
Uh,
to add aside?
I think no. Can't think of anything in particular.
Yeah. Okay. I think then, yeah, either you or I could leave a brief comment on the issue.
Yeah.
Let's simply not label it as a full review because we are less just the two of us, but I still think taking a closer look now
Mm.
in an unplanned manner, then it makes sense, and I don't see any further problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll leave a quick comment.
Yeah. Thanks.
Um, yeah. And the other thing, I'm not sure if you've seen, but that we can discuss maybe next week, in case the two women from last week will join again. Oops, there's the meeting issue, the message. The redefine microcopy issue, or refine labels and descriptions for field types issue. What's his name again? Derek DWW left a review on the issue. Half of it I'm not qualified because those were code-related comments, but there were a few details about, for example, in regard of terminology, we've used, for example, whole number, and that is incorrect, and he is sort of true.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
said, sorry, just double checked myself. Whole number is defined as a positive integer or zero, and negative integers are not whole numbers.
Mm.
So I've did a quick check before the meeting, and in Wikipedia, I found one definition, and that might work. Basically, instead of whole numbers, use natural numbers, and then do the positive numbers, negative numbers, and zero. That way it would work. And there are a few other microcopy related comments he made, and I guess that would be good to discuss in a bigger group.
Yeah.
But yeah, we shouldn't let that issue idle and move
Yeah.
it forward.